Hi guys, welcome to Nestele. This is one of my most exciting things to talk about. I don't know why, but it just works for me. Or in recent times, I don't think that's always been the case. Anyway, before I start, have I said welcome? Please welcome. If this is your first time, do not forget to subscribe. To join in, we have a lot to do here. We talk about books, we talk about goals, we talk about gists. Okay. Let me know in the comment section if this is your first time. I can give you a shout out. Today's shout out is to at Mama Ward 64. Why are we talking about Mama Ward 64? In 2019, when I started this channel, I talked about this book, The Art of Marriage, The Beauty of Sexual Love. And at that time, I hadn't read the book. I had just read a few pages and I had talked about how I was going to read it and then I was going to come back. But I was like, I had gotten the book and I was like, I thought everybody should read it and I thought it would be cool for it. So I hadn't read it at the time. I just thought, okay, this is a good book for us to for people should know about. And for some reason, I finished and I just dropped the book. I didn't read it. So until earlier this month, Mama Ward 64 sent me a message and it's like, oh, I love this. I'll put it here. And she was like, oh, she really liked my video and she just got the book and she cannot wait to read it. And and I was like, why didn't I read this book again? So anyway, I picked it up and I started it. So early this month, I picked up this book and I started it again. And when I tell you, this is the best book I've read in recent times concerning sex in general. So today we're talking about sex. Let's talk about why am I talking about this? First of all, this book is thick. Like it's like chemistry. It's not like chemistry. It's like textbooks, right? I can read it for jam. It is so thick. But when I tell you it covers as much ground as it comes. Okay, so these are for Christians, by the way. Now, I don't think it's solely for Christians, but if you have similar Christian values, you're someone that believes in faithfulness, if you believe in one man, one wife, if you believe in the sanctity of sexual love, this book is for you. You don't have to be a Christian to believe in that. Okay, but if you're someone that believes multiple partners, you can have sex with anybody, this actually might not be for you, not the whole thing. However, you will still read about yourself. So I'm going to talk about the chapters that I found the most, encouraging. Okay, because some of them I actually identify with, and then some of them I've heard a lot of people talk about it. Okay, so the first thing you should know about this sex of a thing, that's enjoying sex, getting an orgasm, and not shying away from the concept of sex is, number one, it all starts with the mind. What you believe is what is going to come true for you when it comes to sex. Okay, you have to work on your mind. Some people, because of maybe assaults that may have happened to you when you were younger, you may have a very negative idea of what sex is and what it should be like. Some of us, because of church, we believe that sex is dirty. So it's like, is this thing that is not, it's like, it's a necessary evil, it needs to be done. Some of us women believe that sex is good for the men. I was there, but not really for you. I was there for a minute, when I just started, I thought it was, it's just a man to do what he needs to do. I know, I'm old school like that. But the woman should, you just stay and take it like that, like nothing do you. So, because of that, you have a very strange. So, like, what happens is that years down the line, you have kids. You see 70-year-olds, 60-year-olds that just don't understand why women want to have and enjoy sex. So, please don't forget, it's all about the mind. That is where you're supposed to start from. Okay. So, for you to enjoy sex, is to build and enjoy deeper connection. Do you understand? It's actually one of the few, if not the only, physical act that actually mimics what God wants with us. Do you understand? There's an interchanging thing. That is why I said that when it comes to Christianity, it's about one man and one wife. If it's is it interchanging? Intercourse. That's the only way. It's like somebody is entering somebody else. You get, if you're doing with several people, it cannot really align with what we're trying to do here. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about is what we called the unfulfilled wife or the unfulfilled woman. The woman went on, okay, first of all, book is by Tim and Beverly LaHaye. Now, I feel like listening to this book, I listened to it too, in addition to this, I listened to it on Everand. So in addition to listening to it and reading the book, so what I can read along, you know how we're kids, you'll be listening to something and be reading along. That's what I was doing with this, because like I said, this book is big and thick, and it made it easy for me to finish it on time. I finished this in like 3-4 days because it was so good. I was so grabbed by it. So one of the things I liked about this, the unfulfilled wife was the unfulfilled wife goes like, you remember I talked about the mind. She goes around believing that she's a frigid person. She accepts it as her reality. So a frigid woman is a woman that doesn't tend to enjoy sex. Is a woman that is not really touched or moved by sex. It's just not her thing. So there are frigid women that are married for years. So it's like for them, sex is just this thing that we need to do to procreate. So sometimes you hear of men that tell that their wife, they cannot touch their wife. Their wife don't enjoy it. So it's like some women will only allow their husbands to touch them only when they're thinking of having children. Other than that, leave me alone. So all those things lead to unfaithfulness in marriages, bitterness, resentment, because sex is actually very important to the man by default or by society engineering. I don't know, but that's the case. So for most women, it's not. The engineering is for the woman is, look, this thing I need to do, I'll just do it for you this time and then we'll just go. But it builds resentment in the home. And a home with resentment is not a great home. You want a home with love. It spills into everything else and it doesn't help you to fulfill your purpose. Sex is a great way. It gives you, what are those things called? There are some hormones that it gives you. It's supposed to make you very happy. It's supposed to make you very fulfilled. And it's wonderful to feel desired as a woman. Come on now. A frigid woman does not feel desired more often than not. So you feel undesired when you don't know, when you don't hear whispers in your ear of how beautiful, how hot you are. Those things, it doesn't help. I don't know if you understand. So a woman doesn't feel good about who she is. And it affects the way she acts. Women are, everything is jumbled up. So it affects the way she attacks life, the way she affects her challenges. In between everything that she's going through, she's also addressed with the fact that she's not desirable or she's frigid. It's not helpful to you as a woman. A woman is a person of desire. Like if you think of Adam in the Bible, the first time he saw Eve, he was blown away. He was like, damn, that's a beautiful woman. So you can imagine a woman living her whole life not feeling that desire, not feeling that wanted, not feeling that. It doesn't help. So I identified with this a lot because of the concept of frigidity. Do you understand? What was it about this? I would just say that when it comes to the mind, a woman needs to feel like she is not frigid. She needs to feel like she's a sexual being. It's part of the expressions of worship, of love, of happiness, of joy, of deeper connection. If you really want to connect deeply with your spouse, you want to find ways to have great sex, be able to have orgasms over and over again. Now, interestingly, when a woman has an orgasm every time or often enough in her relationship, it actually helps the male ego. Ain't that weird? Anyway, so that was one of the first things I talked about, and there was a solution to that. But with this one, what she just talked about, that's the Beverly LaHaye, what she talked about was like, the flaws of that system, the system that makes a woman feel like she's frigid and she runs with it, and why it's important to move away from that. Number 2 chapter that I liked was what they call the impotent man. Now, it was interesting. This book was revised in the 1980s, I think, but it was originally written in 1970 something. So that was a long time ago. Now, it's interesting that what she was talking about when he talked about the impotent man is what we still experience today. Like things we hear about a lot today. This is another thing I hear a lot about. I've heard, not men, but I've heard women say, oh, their husband is not, So again, think about the mind. Now, I would say still do your research. Don't follow 100% what is written here. But she talked about how things like masturbation is one of the things that lead to impotence, exposure to pornography, not self-hate, but self-dislike or disrespect could lead to things like impotence. She actually said that the percentage of men that are medically impotent are very small compared to the level of men that are impotent generally. Most times it's a mind thing. Do you understand? A man's ability to, okay, should I explain what impotence means? Okay, we're getting serious now. Okay. So, impotence in that a man's ability to perform his duty in the sex act. Is there any other way to? Is there any politically right way of saying this without saying what actually is? But I think that if you're married, you understand what I'm talking about, don't you? So imagine if you're with a man and a man he's not able to do what needs to be done. Do you understand? And she explained the different whatevers of impotence. Even a man that comes very easily, that orgasms very fast. So interestingly, what I liked here was that in the book she explained steps that can be taken, or I assume it's him now, that's Tim, the husband, explained steps that can be taken to change it, not medically, interestingly. He said after trying these steps, if they don't work, then you can now go to hospital. Like I said before, the medical, this thing is very small, compared to the vast number of people the vast number of men that believe that they are impotent. Do you understand? Now, the interesting thing about the impotent man is that he still has an orgasm, he still comes. You get, but the issue is that there's a level of unfulfillment that it comes with. It affects the male ego, it affects the entire sexual act. It could also build resentment in the bedroom. So that's another chapter that I liked, because again, like I said, it's something I can identify with because I've heard it a lot. So number 3 chapter, which is the last one I'm going to talk about, is, let me look at my book for a minute, which is the key to feminine response. Okay, so this chapter actually came immediately after she talked about the unfulfilled woman. She said, okay, things like Kegel. Now, let me open a part of the book. I actually folded it out. I don't like folding books, but I had to fold it because it's a thing I think everybody should practice. She went into the actual acts of Kegel. Do you understand? She explained the history, the research, the synopsis that you came up with Kegel, and then what you have here is an exercise chart for Kegel. So for me, I used to think that Kegel was just, just do like this at every day at a particular time. But she actually said that if you do Kegel well, in the space of 6 weeks or so, you should be able to have the walls of your vagina, or the walls of your, let's call it the vagina, the walls of your vagina should be strong enough to be able to give you a good feminine response, making it easy for you to orgasm in sex. So that was one part. It's one part, but she talked a lot about it. It was one part. Other parts include things like communication. Talk about what you want before or after. See, say find a way around it. If it needs to be discussed like it's a meeting, if it needs to be done like a chat, sit down and tell your oga. That is why we said one man, one wife. Because if you can sit and talk to your oga, tell oga, see, I feel like if we do it like this instead of like this, it is easier. This thing that you do sometimes, I like it. Can you do it more? Or as you do it like that, try and see if you can change it this. I don't know if you understand. Try and do it like this is such a weird conversation. But anyway, that's it for this book. I really think that if you're married, and if you know people that are getting married, tell them to buy this book, especially if they are Christians, because there's a lot of misconceptions. When this book was written, the woman talked about with the sexual revolution, there's a very high misconception with sex. I feel like even now it's even worse. The assumption is that as long as a woman has big and big down one, sex goes sweet. As long as the man has good, it goes sweet. It's not like that though. There's a statement I remember hearing one time. I said, just because a man has a something plain doesn't mean he knows how to land it. It's not in the size, it's not in the external. The first major sex organ is your brain. Then there are other things that you need to have beautiful and good sex. If you're someone that has struggled with sex, or you feel a certain way about yourself because of the sexual act, both as a man, as a woman, because it hits everybody. I can't imagine what it's like for a man who is with a woman or with multiple women, and all of that they cannot make, and that's why when we were in church, or I wasn't there, but conversations back then was they told women you have to pretend that you liked it so that you can give the man prop. But the issue is that you are not enjoying it and it doesn't help you. It builds resentment. I'm telling you, don't do it. Learn to get to a point where we can have conversations. Say to it's hard. Say, I want this instead of that. Let us try this instead of that. Then more importantly, get this book. Both of you should read it. You and your man. Read it. If you have children that are about to get married, buy this book for them. Even if they are married, buy it. Buy it. You'll be surprised. There will people know they talk about it, so they cannot talk about it when they are married. They don't want to say, this is not working, that's not working. I wish this was working. It doesn't matter. Okay? So that's it with this book. Thank you so much for watching. Share. More people should read more of this book. Where can you find it? I know that you find this in Bible Wonderland. I bought this at Family Fest many years ago. We bought this just after we got married in Kudera and Abiola were here in Lagos. But I think if you're anywhere in the world, you should be able to get this on Amazon. It's easy to find. But if you check Bible Wonderland, it is there. I don't know where else you can get it yet. If there's more information, you'll see that either in the comment section or in the description of this video. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, and leave a comment below. Maybe you can tell me a sex story I should know. Should we do that? Anyway, until next time, bye.